Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Chaos Coder. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into data binding in Angular 18. Data binding is one of the most crucial concepts in Angular development. It allows your application's components and templates to communicate seamlessly, giving your user interface a dynamic and responsive experience. Data binding in Angular is a way to synchronize data between the component and the template. This allows the application to react to user input and automatically update the view when the data changes. Angular offers several types of data binding, including interpolation, property binding, event binding, and two-way data binding. String interpolation allows us to bind data from our component class and display it inside the template. Here's how it works. In the component class, we define a property, for example, a string called channel name. We assign it the value chaos coder. Now, in our HTML template, we can display the value of this channel name property using double curly braces. Angular will automatically replace this with the actual value of the property from the component. So as you can see in the browser window, our template displays the text chaos coder thanks to string interpolation. String interpolation works for any property in your component class and is commonly used for displaying strings, numbers, and burst of data in the UI. Next, we have property binding as one of the key features in Angular that allows you to bind the properties of a DAO element to a component property. This enables you to set properties on elements in the template using values from your component, making your application dynamic and interactive. Property binding uses square brackets to bind an HTML element's property to a component's property. When the value of the component's property changes, the bound property in the DOM element is automatically updated. In this example, we want to display an image of my profile in our template. To do this, we first define a property in our component class called ImageURL, which holds the URL of the profile. In our HTML template, we use square brackets around the src attribute of the image tag. This tells Angular that we want to bind the value of the src attribute to the ImageURL property from our component. Property binding is especially useful when working with forms, images, and other interactive elements where the values need to change based on user input or application state. Changes in component properties are immediately reflected in the template. Property binding provides a clear and concise way to set properties on elements, keeps your HTML and TypeScript cleanly separated while still allowing for interaction. Next, we have event binding. Event binding is a powerful feature in Angular that allows you to respond to user actions in your application. By binding events to methods in your component class, you can create interactive and dynamic applications. You use parentheses in your HTML template to bind an event to a method. For example, click is equal to handle click binds the click event of a button to the handle click method in your component. The method that handles the event is defined in your component class. This method can execute any logic you want when the event occurs. You can also access the event object in the method if you need more details about the event. In the HTML template, let's create a button with an event binding for the click event. When the button is clicked, the handle click method will be executed. In the component class, the handle click method updates the message property, which is displayed in the p tag. The text will change when the button is clicked, demonstrating how event binding works. Event binding in Angular allows you to create interactive applications by responding to user inputs. By binding events to methods in your component class, you can dynamically change your application's behavior and user interface. This capability is essential for building modern web applications that engage users effectively. And next we have two-way data binding. It is a powerful feature in Angular that allows for automatic synchronization of data between the model component class and the view template. This means that when the user interacts with the UI, the data in the component automatically updates, and if the data in the component changes, the UI reflects those changes instantly. Two-way data binding is primarily achieved using the ng-modal directive, which combines property binding and event binding. The syntax ng-modal property name binds the input value to the specified property in the component class. Changes made in the input field update the property in the component, and any changes made to the property in the component will be reflected in the input field. To use ng-modal, you need to import the forms module in your component. Let's see an example. Here the input field uses ng-modal to bind the user input to the user input property in the component class. As the user types in the input field, the value of user input updates in real time, and this change is reflected in the paragraph below. The user input property is initialized as an empty string. This property stores the user's input. The forms module is imported here to enable the use of ng model. Two-way data binding is a crucial feature in Angular that facilitates a seamless flow of data between the component and the view. By using the ng model directive, you can ensure that any changes in the input fields are reflected in the component's properties and vice versa. This capability enhances the interactivity and responsiveness of your Angular applications, making them user-friendly and dynamic. To summarize, Angular's data binding techniques allow for dynamic and interactive applications. You can use interpolation for simple text binding, property binding for updating DOM properties, event binding to handle user actions, and two-way data binding to keep the component and template set. In the next video, we'll explore more advanced concepts in Angular, so stay tuned.